Have you ever just opened a bottle of medicine and trusted, without a second thought, that every single pill inside is exactly the same as the last one? Of course you have. It's a trust we all just take for granted. But behind that trust is this incredibly detailed global blueprint that's designed to guarantee the quality of every single dose. Okay, let's dive into this master plan for drug safety.
So think about the challenge here. We're not talking about a small, custom-made product. Pharmaceutical companies are making billions, literally billions of pills that have to be absolutely identical, completely safe, and totally effective for people all over the world.
So that's the real question, isn't it? How do you make sure that the pill made on a Monday in one factory is identical in every single important way to one made 6 months later in a factory halfway across the planet? The answer can't just be, well, we hope for the best. There has to be a system.
And that entire system, the whole thing, is built on this one core principle: acceptable for its intended use. Now, it sounds really simple, right? But what it actually means is that every single pill has to pass this really strict list of checks for quality, for purity, for strength, before it can even be considered ready to go to a patient.
You can probably guess this isn't something one country or one company can just figure out on its own. To solve a global manufacturing problem like this one, you need a global solution. You need a single, unified blueprint for quality that everyone agrees on.
And here it is. It's a global guideline called ICH Q6A. Now that ICH stands for the International Council for Harmonization, and basically it's a group that brought the major regulators from the European Union, Japan, and the United States all to the same table. Their goal? To create one single, powerful rulebook so that a company could follow one set of quality standards for all these major markets.
At the very heart of this guideline is this concept of a specification. The best way to think about it is like the architectural blueprint for a skyscraper. It is a super detailed document that lists out every single test the medicine has to pass, the exact methods you use for those tests, and the precise results it needs to get. It's basically the drug's quality contract.
And that official language you see here is really key. A specification is not just some internal company checklist. No way. It is a legally binding agreement. The manufacturer proposes it, they have to justify it with tons of data, and then health authorities like the FDA have to approve it. It becomes an official condition for that drug to even be sold.
Okay, before we go any further, just a quick but really important clarification. The guidelines make a clear distinction between the drug substance, that's the pure active ingredient, think of it like the raw chemical, and the drug product, which is the final thing you actually take, like the tablet or the injection, which has all the other inactive ingredients in it. Both of these have their own separate, unique specifications.
So, what's actually in these specifications? Well, it all starts with 4 tests that are completely non-negotiable. I mean, they're required for pretty much every single drug substance and drug product out there. It doesn't matter what it is.
And you can think of these as the 4 pillars of quality. They build on each other to create this absolute guarantee. It all starts with description. What's it supposed to look like? Then you move to identification. Is it actually the right stuff? Next up is the assay. Is it the right strength? And finally, you test for impurities. Is it pure? Together, these 4 form a rock-solid foundation for quality.
So let's just break that down in plain English. Description is as simple as it sounds. Does the pill have the right color, the right shape? Identification is a chemical test. Is this really the right medicine? Assay measures the dose. Is there exactly 10 milligrams of the active ingredient, just like the label says? And impurities checks for anything else. Is there anything in here that just shouldn't be?
Okay, so after those 4 universal tests are covered, the blueprint gets way more specific. And it has to, right? Because the way you guarantee the quality of a pill is going to be totally different from how you guarantee the quality of an eye drop or an injection.
And this is the critical point. The form of the medicine dictates the kinds of tests you need to do. A pill you swallow has to survive your stomach acid, right? But a drug that's injected goes straight into your bloodstream. They have completely different journeys in your body, so they need completely different quality checks. It just makes sense.
And you can see that here with a few examples. For a tablet, a dissolution test is absolutely vital. It makes sure the pill dissolves at the right speed so your body can absorb it. But for an injection, the #1 most critical test is sterility. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are no harmful microbes in there. Or for an oral liquid, you might check the pH to make sure it's stable and won't cause any irritation.
Now you might be thinking this whole system sounds incredibly rigid, like this giant inflexible checklist. But actually, it's designed to be intelligent. It allows for smarter, more risk-based ways of testing instead of just testing everything all the time, no matter what.
And here are two perfect examples of that intelligence: periodic or skip testing. That basically means if a manufacturer has mountains of data that prove a certain test result is always consistent, regulators might let them test, say, every 10th batch instead of every single one. And release versus shelf life criteria. Well, that just acknowledges that a drug might change a tiny bit over time, so some of the limits might be a little tighter right when it's made compared to when it's about to expire.
The benefit of this kind of flexible, intelligent approach is huge. It lets companies focus their testing and their resources on where the risk is actually the highest. This makes the whole process way more efficient and sustainable, all while making sure the patient safety is never, ever compromised.
So, let's bring all this home. What does this complicated global blueprint, with all its specifications and tests and criteria, what does it actually mean for you? At the end of the day, after all the complex guidelines and the international agreements and the countless hours of rigorous testing, it all boils down to this: one single goal. Every rule in that blueprint, every test in that lab, every signature on that document is there for one reason: to make sure that the medicine you take is safe and that it will work exactly the way it's supposed to every single time.
So the next time you open a medicine bottle, you can remember this. That specification, that whole blueprint we just talked about, it's your silent, invisible guarantee of quality. It's backed by science, it's enforced by global regulators, and it's built into every single dose you take.
You know, this global rulebook has created a really remarkable standard for safety and consistency, but it also makes you wonder, what's next? With all these new technologies coming out, things like AI and continuous manufacturing, what will the next generation of this quality blueprint even look like? And how is it going to make our medicines even safer than they are today?